Hello everyone, Jonathan Schlack, EAS&Weather here with a severe weather update. We now have an enhanced risk for severe weather today that covers portions of central New York State. That's where we have an enhanced risk for severe weather today. And we have a slight risk for severe weather today that covers portions of central, southwestern, and east central New York State, southern half of Vermont, southwestern New Hampshire, western Massachusetts. Just barely includes a very teeny tiny part of the northwestern corner of Connecticut. Doesn't really include Connecticut, but it also includes portions of central Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania, central Maryland, a tiny part of the panhandle, the northeastern panhandle of West Virginia, Washington, D.C., and north central Virginia. And we have a marginal risk for severe weather today that covers western and southeastern Pennsylvania, as well as the central panhandle of West Virginia, the central panhandle of Maryland, portions of eastern Maryland, north central and central Virginia, as well as far northwestern Delaware, northwestern New Jersey, southeastern New York State, north central New York State, portions of the northwestern half of Connecticut, a teeny tiny part of northwestern Rhode Island, central Massachusetts, north central Vermont, most of New Hampshire, and southwestern Maine. Going over here, we have two marginals further west. We have one up here in east central Nebraska, most of Iowa, west central Illinois, and northern Missouri. And we have a marginal down here across west central Texas and southeastern New Mexico. So, going into the tornado threat for today, we have a 10% chance of an isolated tornado today that covers portions of central New York State. We have a 5% chance of an isolated tornado today that covers southwestern, central, and east central New York State, as well as northern Pennsylvania, western Massachusetts, southern half of Vermont, and southwestern New Hampshire. And we have a 2% chance of an isolated tornado today that covers portions of northern New York State, southeastern New York State, which is northwest of New York City and Long Island, as well as central Pennsylvania, central Maryland, northeastern panhandle of West Virginia, Washington, D.C., north central Virginia, northwestern New Jersey, northwestern half of Connecticut, central Massachusetts, north central Vermont, most New Hampshire, and southwestern Maine. So we have a 2% chance of an isolated tornado today. Going to the wind aspect of things, we have a 15% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher today that covers a lot of New York State, central Pennsylvania, and northeastern Pennsylvania, as well as the northeastern panhandle of West Virginia, north central Virginia, Washington, D.C., and I think I mentioned central Maryland, as well as a teeny tiny part of, just barely includes Connecticut at all, but is around the border of Connecticut, the far northwestern corner of Connecticut, as well as western Massachusetts, southern half of Vermont, and southwestern New Hampshire. We have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour higher today that covers parts in north central and New York State, as well as southeast New York State, which is northwest of New York City and Long Island, parts of western and southeastern Pennsylvania, the central panhandle of Maryland, the central panhandle of West Virginia. Oops, no, I just updated on me. Central and north central Virginia, eastern Maryland, far northwestern Delaware, northwestern New Jersey, as well as the northwestern half of Connecticut, extreme northwestern corner of Rhode Island, central Massachusetts, north central Vermont, most New Hampshire, and southwestern Maine. Going over here, we have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher today that covers east central Nebraska, most of Iowa, west central Illinois, and northern Missouri. Going down here, we also have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher today that covers southeastern New Mexico and west central Texas. So, going to the hail, we have a 5% chance of hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger today that covers east central Nebraska, most of Iowa, west central Illinois, and northern Missouri. So going to the summary, tornadoes and damaging winds are possible over portions of western and central New York. So going to tomorrow's outlook, the day 2 outlook, we have 2 marginals tomorrow. We have one over here. We have a marginal in southwestern South Dakota, parts of western Nebraska, extreme northwestern Kansas, and northeastern Colorado. And going down here, we have a marginal risk for tomorrow in south central Arizona. The tornado threat tomorrow is less than 2% in all areas, so there's not really a tornado threat tomorrow. Going to the wind aspect of things, we have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour higher tomorrow. That covers southwestern South Dakota, western Nebraska, the extreme northwestern corner of Kansas, and northeastern Colorado. We have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour higher tomorrow. That covers south central Arizona as well. Going to the hail aspect of things, we have a 5% chance of hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger tomorrow. That covers southwestern South Dakota, western Nebraska, far northwestern corner of Kansas, and northeastern Colorado. So, for tomorrow, the summary is a couple instances of severe gusts or hail are possible over the central and the northern high plains tomorrow, Thursday. A couple of severe gusts are also possible in central and southern Arizona tomorrow evening. So, that's all I got for today. So, areas in the Northeast, again, today. Areas in the Northeast today are in the highest risk for severe weather today, so stay safe in the affected areas both today and tomorrow. Follow warnings and watches from the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center. Stay safe in the affected areas both today and tomorrow. And I will have another update tomorrow. Take care.